Welcome to Season 7 of Tiny Expeditions. I'm Dr. Sarah Sharman, here to help you understand the science.
My name is Chris Powell. I'm your co-host for this season. And this season, we are excited to make a little bit of a pivot and to talk about the peanut.
You might be wondering how the peanut, this tiny legume, can be the subject of a whole season, but buckle up, we've got tons of content for you.
That's right, and you should literally buckle up because we're going on a journey. Well, actually, Sarah and I went on a journey, and we did a lot of interviews and pulled a lot of stories that we're really excited to bring to you that were all down in the city of Dothan.
And for those of you unfamiliar with Dothan, it is a city in South Alabama. It is part of the larger WIREGRASS region of South Alabama, South Georgia, and parts of North Florida. And why Dothan? Dothan is the self-proclaimed peanut capital of the world. About 50% of all peanuts produced in the U.S. are grown within a 100-mile radius of Dothan.
And so this season is all about looking at the peanut and how this little legume is something that could be used as a catalyst for research and development, and through that, hopefully the transformation of an entire region of the United States.
And the backbone of most of the stories we're going to tell in this season is the WIREGRASS Peanut Project, which is a first of its kind project taking place in schools in the WIREGRASS region. And this project is unique in that it's not just benefiting students, but the entire peanut industry, from farmers to shellers and even scientists right here at HudsonAlpha.
So we're going to be in the lab, we're going to be on the farm, we're going to be in the schools, we're going to be all over the place. But for this episode, let's start right here in our studio, and let's welcome in a HudsonAlpha educator, Jennifer Hutchinson. Now, you will hear us referring to her as Hutch lovingly. We love her here, and we're excited for you to get to hear from her. So let's talk with Hutch. Welcome to the podcast. Can you tell us who you are and what is it that you do at the Institute?
Thank you, Chris and Sarah. My name is Jennifer Hutchison, but everyone calls me Hutch. I'm an educator professional learning specialist. So most of the time I spend teaching teachers, but one of the most fun things that I get to do is being in the classroom with students as well. So I get the best of all the worlds.
For most of this season, we were in Dothan, but currently we're in our studio in Huntsville, Alabama. What do you do down in Dothan?
Oh, wow. So you name it, we do it down there. We just recently were able to move into the WIREGRASS Innovation Center, which we're so incredibly grateful for that space that is just amazing. Before then, we were kind of working out of a shed, so to speak, and so we're very happy to have that space there. But the majority of the time that we are in Dothan working on peanut project pieces, we are there doing planting of magic seeds, teaching teachers how to teach their students to observe those plants over the course of about a month of time. Then we go back and do a high-quality DNA extraction with them. We bring the DNA back here to Huntsville, and where we will actually do sequencing on that DNA, and then we go back to Dothan to do an analysis. So the kids are actually having conversations with one another about the different traits and talking about what they think is most important based on pieces of information that we give them. And so it's been very heartening from the very beginning to hear kids talk about futuristic things and not just being egocentric, but thinking about, well, this might not be a problem right now, but it might be a problem for farmers in the future. So we better put a little bit of attention on this particular trait. So that's been really, really fun to watch.
So working here at HudsonAlpha, I feel a little bit privileged to have been able to see sort of the evolution of this, because it's been going on for a little while and has moved from just, what seemed to be not a small project, but a smaller project than it is now, and is continuing to go even beyond the original bounds. But let's back all the way up to the very beginning. What inspired the project to start with? What made us decide, hey, HudsonAlpha needs to go and to specifically use peanuts, of all things, to kind of found this project?
Absolutely. So let's just talk about when that started. So spring of 23 was the first semester that we did the Peanut Project. And this is largely the brainchild of Dr. Josh Clevenger. And so because Dr. Clevenger is a world-renowned plant genomicist, and he knows more about peanuts than, he's forgotten more about peanuts than I'll ever know, right? But because that is an area that he is so incredibly talented in, it seemed natural that we would do that. But then couple that with the peanut capital of the world being in Dothan, and you have this beautiful combination of this collaborative spirit, which is what we're all about at Hudson Alpha, with thinking about how we might be able to help the farmers, particularly in the wiregrass, with different problems that they might be dealing with. And for students to be able to have something relevant and timely like that, to see actual authentic science happening that could potentially help those farmers, has been really, really a great hook to get them really interested. And then the science comes alongside of that, and they're learning as they're doing that, but we're kind of tricking them into that. So it's a great storyline.
This is the majority of this project is inside of a school,
yes.
Right? Yes. But I think we can all see that this is not a traditional banking system of education, right? Banking model. What makes this model so different? What makes it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is authentic science happening in the classroom. So very often, as a classroom educator, we provided students with lab activities that they were doing, and many times they were very novel and not really applicable to anything that the kids were doing. I've often asked teachers, how many times do we have to answer the question, why do I have to know this? So in this case, it's one of those situations where we can talk about DNA, and there's so many things that we can link it to. Yes, we are working with peanuts, but learning about traits in peanuts can be carried over into learning traits about humans and learning about human health. And so because it is just so far-reaching and DNA is everywhere around us, it creates just this perfect situation and scenario in which we can teach them about the DNA in one context, but that can also be carried over into so many other areas of their lives. So it's just a natural progression in terms of being in the classroom and being able to learn those things, but that they actually matter moving forward.
Sarah, for the first time, I think this is a new one for us.
Yeah.
We are literally podcasting in a barn, and we have a very special guest with us. And can you tell us your name and what do you do for a living?
Hey, my name is Jillian Etris, and I'm a teacher at Cottonwood High School, and I teach science.
Excellent. Cottonwood High School. So we're in Cottonwood, Alabama right now.
Correct.
And where are we standing?
We are at my husband and I's farm, and our uncle. We all farm together here in Cottonwood, and we're hanging out here at the barn today, getting ready for peanut planting.
And we need to just put out a notice here. If you're listening to this, you can't see that we're at the barn, but head over to our YouTube page, and you can see the video portion of this podcast, and you can actually see where we are, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
It is.
It's super cool.
It's excellent.
So how long have you been teaching, Jillian?
I'm fixing to start my 14th year in August. Yeah.
Wow.
So this ended my 13th year teaching. I've taught in Florida and taught agriculture for a long time while I was down there. And then whenever I moved to Alabama, I taught agriculture for a little while, and I've been teaching science for the last several years, and it has been a lot of fun. I love it. I love the hands-on component, and it's been awesome.
So has genetics or genomics been a part of your typical curriculum?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even when I was teaching ag before I started teaching here in Alabama, teaching science, we talked about all of the different ways that genetics and genomics are used in agriculture. We talked about, different crops and stuff that have been modified, and we've talked about the benefits of that. And our kids, teaching in North Florida and teaching here in South Alabama, our kids come from a rural background, and their families are involved in farming, and they are in the industry even if they're not in the field. And so it plays a really important role, in what's going on in their lives. And so as I've moved in teaching away from teaching agriculture in class per se to teaching science, which is more of our kids that are going to kind of be from all walks of life, we've had the opportunity to incorporate that more with the Hudson Alpha Peanut Program and with different things, that just come up because genomics is everywhere. I mean, it's the basics. It's part of what we're doing in 7th grade science all the way up through my high school classes.
So when you first heard about the WIREGRASS Peanut Project, what caught your attention about it? Why did you want to incorporate it in your class?
Well, it was just awesome that somebody was actually thinking about the peanut farmer and thinking about peanut farms. I remember my time at Auburn, we were talking with one of my agriculture professors there, and they were telling us about all this cool stuff that they were doing with research with cotton and corn and soybeans, and I was like, what about peanuts? And he's like, man, nobody really is looking at that. It's such a small portion of U.S. agriculture. And so whenever I found out about this, I was so excited because I felt like our corner of agriculture had finally been seen and was, going to get some help, because when we look at research and development, farmers, they're very quick to embrace new technologies. They're very quick to embrace and support research and development. And so having somebody that was looking at an industry that was so important to us really just, as a teacher and as an agriculturalist, made me super happy. And looking at the impact that it's had in our classroom, it's immeasurable. It's awesome.
Can we back up just a little bit?
Yeah.
And can you give us kind of a working definition of what is the Peanut Project? What exactly are you doing in your classroom with these students?
So with the Peanut Project, we have a partnership with HudsonAlpha where they are coming in and bringing us seeds that our kids can plant, and the kids plant those. They raise them right there in the classroom, and they name their plants. They get very attached. And so they baby them up to a point where we're going to take a leaf sample. And whenever they take that leaf sample, we have a group that comes in and kind of co-teaches with us, a group from HudsonAlpha, and they co-teach a lab with us where we extract DNA from those peanut plants. The students do all of that themselves, and it's really awesome. It's a grueling lab process. We're in the lab for several hours doing that, but the kids love it because they've never got to do the real science. They see the stuff, we dissect frogs and things like that, but this is like what I see on TV and what I hear about. And so they come in, we extract the DNA, and HudsonAlpha, the co-teachers that work with us, take it back to Huntsville and they sequence that DNA. And then the kids, a few weeks later, get back a report that shows what their individual peanut plant, what traits it had. And so when we look at those traits, we let the kids decide what the next genetic cross is going to be. Do we use Kaylee's peanut over here and cross it with John's peanut over here in hopes that we can get one that is resistant to tomato spotted wilt or whatever it is? And so they actually look at what they get back from that report, from the sequencing, and they say, hey, we think that this cross right here would be very beneficial to our area. And you have some kids that are like, I'm only concerned about cottonwood. I'm only concerned about the diseases we're worried about here in cottonwood and the pressures we're facing here. And you have other kids who are like, man, what about those farmers that are in other countries where they don't have irrigation and there are things there that are more they're at a higher risk rate than we are here in the U.S. What could we do? Could we cross something to give them a beneficial peanut too? So you have some kids that are thinking globally, you have some kids that are thinking community, and all of them are looking at that data. They're synthesizing that data to say, okay, this is what we think will make the next best peanut, and we want to try this cross and see what happens. And sometimes when they cross them, we get a great product, and sometimes when they get crossed, sometimes, those genes segregate out, and they're like, oh, my cross didn't work. But what's cool is each year, the peanuts that group is using are the ones from the crosses from the previous year. And so you've kind of seen this little bonding happen during the high school where they're like, hey, that was my peanut from freshman year, and now a freshman this year is using it or something like that. And that's been really awesome.
That's so cool. Have there been any kind of student success stories that stood out where maybe a student wasn't very interested in science and then this project really sparked something in them?
Yeah, and so we see, it kind of depends on the teacher. There's two of us teachers there at Cottonwood that do the project. One of the teachers focuses on our honors students, and then with me, I kind of teach whatever class they have left over they need me to teach. And so sometimes I will have a general group mixed with honors. Sometimes I have just a real general group. And one of the things that I love, I had a boy our second year. And he was definitely one of those kids who kind of felt beat down by the education system. He was getting through. He was going to get his diploma. But school was not always fun for him. And so he was very anxious coming into this lab, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this and get this work. What if I screw it up? And I'm like, well, that's how we learn. Like, science is just, you mess up and you try again. And he got in there and extracted the DNA and came out, and he had the biggest smile on his face. I'll never forget it. He's like, I never knew that I could do something like that. Wow. He wasn't college bound. You know, he was going to trade school. He was very heavily involved in the agriculture industry. But like to see that look of, oh my gosh, I did something I didn't think I could do today. That was the best. That was the best. Now, I've had plenty of kids that are like, yeah, this is interesting. I might want to do this in college. But he's the one I remember.
What, aside from stories like that,
Yeah.
like what do you consider to be the greatest value or the benefit that you have from being a part of this project?
Well, I love the aspect that the kids are getting to help make decisions about an industry that's going to affect their life. Because whether they're actively involved in agriculture, they're on the farm, they're in the tractor, the industry, the peanut industry affects all of us here in the Wiregrass. It touches all of those subsidiary businesses that are providing tractor tires for the farmers, or that are providing fertilizer services, or, you know, the farmers market. You know what I'm saying? And so seeing them so invested in something that they're like, you know, I could look back and be like, hey, when this peanut comes out and farmers are planting it 20 years from now, be like, I helped develop that. You know, you can tell my kids about that. I think that's pretty special. That's pretty special.
So we've had a good idea of what this project looks like from the perspective of a teacher. Let's flip it around and let's see, what is this project like from the perspective of a student? Let's bring in Harrison.
Harrison is a rising junior at Houston Academy, and his school participated in the WIREGRASS Peanut Project. Like Jillian, he also has ties to peanuts outside of the classroom. So his family owns an industrial separation company, which basically just means they shell and separate peanuts for farmers across the country. And this is also an international company, so he's had a lot of experience and really seen inside the peanut industry from that side of it. So it was interesting hearing him talk about his experience in the classroom. So your school participated in the WIREGRASS Peanut Project. What was that like? Can you walk us through that?
I mean, it was different than what I'm used to. I mean, at my old school, we never did anything like this. So this was different to come in and see how y'all come in and build new peanut varieties coming through the school systems. Because that's a good thing, because people need to learn how to do science from this is actual real science, and learn about some random stuff. So this was actually pretty cool to me, because it's good to learn how to create a new peanut variety, because we haven't had a new peanut variety in probably 10, 15 years, and it takes 10 to 15 years to build a new variety. So I see how y'all going to make it under 4. So that's a good thing to bring in high schools and spread it out and get the knowledge inside other people, and get the young people like me to get interested and involved in the peanut industry, to build a profit and the business up, and so we can feed tons of people around the world, which is a big part of what my business is part, is feeding people. We want to show the peanuts as quick as possible so we can feed them out across the whole country, like in the whole nation and whole world. Because we're not just a nationwide business, we're a worldwide business.
So I imagine it was a little bit of a different perspective for you then, because you've obviously grown up around peanuts, and it's all been on that side, right? The business side and the manufacturing side. This was on the research side of like extracting DNA. Can you tell us about that? Like, how different was that for you, and what did it make you think about peanuts any differently than you did before?
It was completely different what I'm used to. It's like completely, because we're not big science, and we're more engineering than more research and trying to find a new variety of peanut. So it was just completely different for me. I mean, I was shocked, pretty much.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time in class for the whole month, but it was better than taking notes.
Had you ever extracted DNA from anything before?
Never had a chance to. So that's like the first time ever doing that, like doing actually like scientific, like doing actually with the class and all that. I've never done that before.
Was it different than you thought it would be? Was it easier or harder, or what you expected, I guess?
It was a mix. It was easier than I thought, because the process was easier, because we had to hold step by step. But it was kind of hard, because if you one step, you're screwed. So that's what kind of threw me off a little bit. But it was simpler than I thought. I thought we had to get all this, do this thing over here, then bring it over to the other side of the table, put this chemical in, pull this out and stuff like that, but it's a very simple process.
This was truly an inspirational episode, hearing from the teachers and students involved in this unique educational experience.
It was. We've heard a lot of great stories, but at this point, we need to kind of close this episode out. So, Sarah, let's take a moment. Was there something that really stuck out to you? What's your TLDR for this episode?
Yeah, I think as a former scientist, for me, it was really just the importance of this authentic hands-on learning experience and just what a major impact it can have on the students visualizing themselves as scientists or just understanding that they can belong in the STEM field.
Yeah, you may remember, at least for me in high school, I remember asking the question of, how is this going to apply to my life when I leave here? Well, these students really can't ask that question, can they? Because it's very obvious the application of what they're doing right now to the world around them.
Exactly. Another thing that stood out to me is just how easily these students are able to look beyond their own circle of life. Like, it is so easy to be selfish and just think, how is this applying to me? But these students are thinking about how this research can impact not only farmers in their community, but farmers around the globe. And that's just so amazing to me.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And kind of alongside of that, what stuck out to me is let's call it the power of connectedness, right? We're here in Huntsville, Alabama, and Dothan is 5 hours away from us. And so you may be asking, what's the connection there? Well, when you put Huntsville and Dothan together, when you put the right people in the right space, when you connect researchers and educators and students, like, it's amazing the things that can happen. Like, there's a power in connectedness, and that's really what this is about.
So thanks for joining us for this debut episode into the world of peanuts. Make sure to join us for the next episode, where we'll dive further into the economic impacts of peanuts and this peanut project on Dothan and the surrounding areas.
Tiny Expeditions is a podcast about genetics, DNA, and inheritance from the HudsonAlpha Institute for Biotechnology. We're a nonprofit research institution in Huntsville, Alabama, with a very unique mission.
We bring together scientists and companies to develop and apply genomic advances to make a better world. That's everything from brain research to agriculture for a changing climate.
And if you enjoyed this episode, consider swinging by your favorite podcast app and hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, consider leaving us a review. It really helps us to spread the knowledge.
Thanks for joining us.